For more on the developments in Syria, I spoke with Max Abrahms. He's a political science professor at Northeastern University. I asked him if he was surprised civilians were not evacuated during the ceasefire.
I'm really not surprised. Aleppo is a very difficult situation to resolve. Basically, a portion of East Aleppo is basically made up of civilians. And then there are also many rebel groups there, including the al-Qaeda affiliate Nusra. And basically what Russia has been demanding is for there to be a separation between the civilian population and what Russia regards as the terrorists. However, the rebel groups openly say that they're not going to separate from the civilian population. And indeed, some of the groups have actively prevented civilians from leaving. Meanwhile, the United States and other Western countries are calling for basically Syria and Russia to stop bombing Aleppo. And so we're not in a new situation here. This is really a continuation of the status quo over the past few weeks. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen any progress.
As you know, Turkey's president has said that his country will be expanding its operations in northern Syria.
Yes, that's right. Unfortunately, Turkey's main concern in Syria is to thwart the Kurds, especially the Kurdish fighters known as the YPG. And so a lot of Turkish firepower has been directed at the Kurds, which is very unfortunate for the United States because the United States has essentially been counting on the Kurds as a reliable ally against Islamic State. And so there are many different interests in Syria. One of the problems why Islamic State has been able to thrive is because Islamic State is not the top priority for all the different actors. For Turkey, Islamic State is really secondary to the Kurds. And similarly, it seems as though both Putin and Assad are more concerned about the rebel groups than Islamic State. If all of the powers focused on Islamic State would have been destroyed years ago.
Max, making headlines right now, the United Nations Security Council finding Syria responsible for that chemical attack in 2015. How will this affect the operations?
Well, I don't really think it changes all that much. I mean, it's really no surprise that Assad has a lot of blood on his hands. We've known this since 2011. Furthermore, we know that he's been using basically low-level weapons of mass destruction against the population. To be fair, Assad is not the only actor in Syria that has used these sorts of weapons. Islamic State has also used chemical weapons. And so I really don't think that this revelation is all that new. You remember back to 2013 when President Obama said that using WMD would be a red line. But obviously that was not a red line. Assad remains in power. I do think, though, that WMD are sort of seen as uniquely bad in the international community, and that proponents of regime change will point to this latest attack as further evidence that the Assad regime has to go.
Max Abrahms, always great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.